Let me ask you a question. Would you like to know exactly what it takes to create situations where people will go all in on you? That could be running a business and having it where your team is completely dedicated to the vision that you've created. It could be in personal relationships where your partner is so dedicated to you as a human being and they will do anything to keep you happy. It could even be meeting someone on a night out and having them making a decision between going all the way with you versus maybe having a little bit of laughter and then going home by themselves. So what is the main key that will cause people to want to fully buy into you? In my personal experience, after many years, I would say that it is one word: investment. And this word investment, I think, creates a lot of controversy because the general way that we feel is that we should be able to be ourselves, be nice, be friendly, and not need somebody to invest, and they should just get it automatically. But what I'm going to explain in this video is that that's a completely delusional fantasy that is in fact disrespectful to the person you're dealing with. That's right, I said it. If you don't give them the chance to invest in you, it is actually disrespectful. It is creepy, it is coming on too strong with them, and it isn't allowing them to be a part of the process of the two of you creating a win-win. Now, to lead into this, I'd like to use this building behind me as an example. This is a brand new building here in New York. Personally, I think it's amazing, but you may have a different opinion. You might actually think this building is gaudy or ridiculous. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna ask you, before we go any further, to write as a comment below this video in the comment section what it is that you think of this building and why. I'm gonna explain why in a minute, but I'd like you to write what you think of this building and why. Take the pause. Okay, now let me explain. This building right here to me is a classic example of investment because here in New York, it's a very polarizing building. Some people think it's so cool, they want to take photos in front of it. They think it's the coolest new addition to the New York repertoire of all these different buildings. Very psyched. Other people feel that it's an atrocity on the neighborhood. They think that it's taken this cool little neighborhood and changed it. It's not the classic New York, it's a little bit too bougie. And you'll notice here that there's different opinions on it. Now let me ask you a question. If you were somebody who raised the money to create this brand new building, what would you think about it? If you were somebody who did the construction on this building, what would you think about it? If you were somebody who had to get permits from the city, which I can't even begin to imagine in New York City how hard it is to get permits like that, what would you think of it? Versus if you're somebody who had no investment in the process at all, and then maybe you had your cute little neighborhood here, all of a sudden they're doing construction on it, there's this kind of weird building, well then what would you think about it? And how would your investment in the process, or conversely your lack of investment, determine what it is that you focus on in your RAS? What is RAS? It's your selective focus. They call that reticular activation system. Look that up, reticular activation system. So your degree of investment in anything will have a huge determining factor in whether or not your RAS focuses on the good or the bad in this building. Likewise, when somebody is meeting you, whether that's you working together, dating or having a relationship, networking, making friends, whatever, their degree of investment is going to determine in large part whether or not they focus on your positive qualities or your negative qualities. And for that reason, just leading in with this example, our goal here today to get it to where people want to go all in with you. They want you to lead them to the promised land and create those win-wins urgently. What we're going to be discussing through a series of many personal stories and anecdotes and even step-by-step breakdowns of actions that you can take, we're going to go super duper deep on this very, very important concept of investment. So what we're describing here is something known as the halo effect. The halo effect is where we have our entire picture that we're looking at, the good attributes, the bad attributes, and when we value something very highly, we're going to ignore the bad attributes and look at the good attributes. Now, this is a funny thing to think about because if we're ignoring the bad attributes and looking at the good attributes, we're probably going to invest into it. And the more that we invest into it, the more that we're going to want to invest into it, and the more that we're going to want to double down and triple down and quadruple down. Now, as our investment increases, the halo effect gets even crazier and crazier because, again, the more that you've invested into something, the more it is that you're going to value it, and the more it is that you're going to view it in your selective focus as probably better than it really is. So right here, we're actually sitting in front of the Cartier store. And Cartier, they have these incredible watches, or up there they have, I think there's Rolex or something like that over there. These are these luxury design stores that you'll see in these really expensive neighborhoods. And I myself, I own a lot of stuff by Dolce & Gabbana or Tom Ford or Ferragamo, Gucci, all that stuff. And the major thing that I notice with clothing like this is that it really doesn't look that much better than the things that you'd buy from H&M or even from Zara. But what does happen is when you invest a lot into it, you'll perceive it as better. My favorite clothes, I always tend to take way better care of them. When I try them on, I look at them and I think, God, I look so good. And it really is that halo effect of the fact that I invested into it. I've seen the same concept when I watch basketball games. I'll spend $0 to watch a basketball game on television, even on a big TV, and I won't pay that close of attention to it. But if I drop $1,000 or $2,000 to take me and my friends to the game, we pay full attention to the game. I've also seen it when I've taken lessons, for example. I remember when I was taking vocal coaching from an incredible vocal coach, and she would actually do a really great job, but I was only paying about $150 an hour. I noticed that I would never do the homework. The only way that I could ultimately solve it was by paying another vocal coach about $1,500 an hour. Once I was paying $1,500 an hour, I would pay attention. I have also seen this, funny enough, even in my own teaching. When I do a free video, I might put a huge amount of time and energy in that free video, and there's gonna be people who see it and will have minimal follow-up on that free video. But if I can get them to, say, a free event, the person at the free event, because they actually had to use their time in order to experience that event, they're gonna pay a lot closer attention. Now, if I can get that person at a free event to go to, say, a $300 event, I can get about a day of attention, and I can get them to take notes and to participate at a pretty decent degree. Now, if I can get somebody to spend a couple $1,000s, let's say it's an infield training, what I notice is every word of my mouth, they're paying attention, and they're continually taking notes and doing every single exercise that I would ever ask them to do. So, funny enough, you'd think that that free thing that you gave, people would appreciate. Oh, it's a free video. You gave me something for free. I'm gonna try even harder to take advantage of this free thing that you gave me because it's a gift. But it doesn't work out that way. In reality, the way that I consistently see things working out is that it's always when the person invests more into that program or learning, they're gonna get so much more out of it because the halo effect is being triggered by the investment. Now, this topic is probably my single greatest sticking point, and it has caused me more grief than just about any other topic I could possibly think of. And the reason why is very simple. When I was younger, I was an extreme value taker. I wanted to take any amount of value that I could, and this caused me to live in my own personal hell. Later, as I got older, I came to become a value giver. And going from being a value taker, which is a disgusting little creature, to opening up and being more like the sun. Instead of my previous creepy black holeness, I tried to become more like the sun and giving. That transformation for me was the single most important transformation possibly of my entire life. Giving value is the way that I summon down that beautiful energy. It expands my mind. It gives me a reason to live, and it feeds my soul. But as always, there's that next paradigm. And in the same way that the first shift was going from being a value taker to a value giver, the second shift, which we're discussing right here, is shifting from being a value giver to being somebody who gives value, but also gives that opportunity and space for people to invest. Now, the reason why this is so important is because unless that person invests, they can never truly receive what it is that you have to offer. And that's actually why I got to this point. It wasn't so much that I couldn't take more. It was that I have so much to give, and people who I wanted to give to just couldn't let it land unless I allowed them to invest first. So let me give a couple of personal stories. I can say right off the bat in dating, there was one time where I met this person that was my perfect match. Maybe the best match that I've ever met in my entire life. We had so much in common. And for me, just seeing that, and seeing that this person was so into me, to me it was as clear as day that I shouldn't have to give an opportunity to invest. What I should do instead is just be really nice, really giving, really connect, because somebody who I have this much in common with and who clearly likes me off the bat and is spending a lot of time with me, why do I need to create a situation where they need to invest? Very weird. Well, over time, me and this person We developed an incredible connection, incredible friendship, really on a very deep level, but there just wasn't any attraction coming from that side, okay? It wasn't being reciprocated, and I kept thinking, what's going on? Now, as that happened, I kept investing more and more, and I thought this was an exception to the rule that I shouldn't have to create that space for them to invest. Now, what happened eventually was I started to feel depleted. I started to feel nervous and uncomfortable around them. I just started to feel very weird. So what I did to make myself feel sane again was, because we're still technically friends, I wasn't cheating, I decided to start seeing other people. And it was amazing how after a couple months of not seeing anybody else, and suddenly I'm seeing a couple other people, seeing the degree of attraction that all the other people had for me, it really reminded me of who I am. And this was the big distinction that I noticed. The other people that I was seeing would wake up in the middle of the night to come and see me. They would basically crawl under a barbed wire fence to come and see me. As far as any kind of physical intimacy, they would be pushing all the chips to the middle of the table, trying to throw it all out there, basically to do anything to get my attention. Now, meanwhile, the more that I'm giving in the situation that I really like, where there's clearly just such a better opportunity here, that kind of thing's not happening at all. It's much more of a neutral and tepid response. But here's the best part. A lot of the people who were investing in me, the people who I even had intimacy with, were actually more physically attractive, even though the person that I really like, that person was very, very physically attractive. But nonetheless, these people were even more physically attractive. And at a certain point I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, this person who's so physically attractive is super bought into me because I'm giving them the space to invest. Meanwhile, this person, who is also very beautiful person, but not on that level, even though totally incredible, they're neutral. What's going on here? And what I began to feel was there's an energetic sense between the people that were investing and the people who are not investing. So let me describe to you what it's like. When I'm around the people who I'm investing in, I don't feel centered. I don't feel grounded. My mind is racing on ways to show them that I have some kind of value. And I become very self-qualifying. I try to prove myself. A lot of the conversations I kind of keep bringing back to how great it could be between us. Meanwhile, what will tend to happen is when the other person's investing and I'm laying back and giving them the ability to invest, what winds up happening is just the opposite. I wind up looking very chill, very quiet, while they are trying to push the chips to the middle of the table. Here's the funny part. That incredible person who I had such a connection with, their life would have been so much improved by us getting together. It would have been so much better. So much better. I mean, it could have been so good. It was all right there. But I didn't give the chance to enrich this person's life because I gave too much on the front end. And what's happening here is there's an energetic reality where we have to give in order to receive. Now, we talked earlier about this idea of, say, a free video, or say even a free event, and how the person who's at that free event can't receive the gift in that moment. They're just not able to receive it on a deep level. They can come and kind of pay attention. You can watch this video, for example, and because it's a free video, you're literally considering turning it off right now because it's free. You've invested very little into it other than your time. Meanwhile, like I said, if you came to a free event, you'd actually sit through the whole thing most likely, or at a paid event, you pay even more attention. At a really expensive infield training, you'd be writing down everything and taking it really seriously. Well, funny enough, because I gave you the space to invest, you're gonna get so much more out of it, and I'm gonna be able to give you my best. I physically cannot even give you my best unless I've created a space for you to invest. Now, I've learned this the hard way because for many years I'd put out everything from outdoor footage of real life interactions to hours and hours of video seminar. And literally one of the common comments under, say, a 2 or 3 hour video seminar that I put out is, why does this have to be so long? The whole, why does this have to be so long? Why does the free video loaded with value have to be so long? Was very much how with the person that I was dating and really just chasing too much, it's the same kind of vibe. Just a lack of appreciation because I didn't put them in a position to receive. What I did as a value giver was by not creating a space to invest, I deprived them of perhaps the best experience of their entire life. So that being the case, like I said, just really take a notice of the energy. In the proper energy, you feel good, you feel centered, you're not trying to prove anything, you're just being yourself and allowing that space to exist for them to jump through hoops, for them to put in effort, for them to go into their mind and to try to create a win-win where you're moving up together. And the bad vibe is where you're just getting frenetic, off your center, and it's really just not working out. So that being the case, I think at this point you understand the meta level concept of investment. I think you get it. And what I'd like to do next is jump into the sort of step-by-step that you could do when you go out and meeting people and really give you something very applicable that you could just go and apply tonight. I want you to think of this like an ecosystem. You are an ecosystem. And an ecosystem, any form of life, needs to have certain elements. The first form of life is the ability to generate outreach. What does outreach mean? It means that you know how to walk into any environment and make little fun comments, throw out little quips, little jokes, little singing, little observations that allow you to meet a lot of people. Okay? You've got to be able to go into any environment and meet the vast majority of the people in that environment. If you can't do this, you are lost. You have to know how to do it. I would urge you to practice this. Make this your mission until you get it. I see people who can't walk into an environment and start up conversations or learn how to have that outreach, and I think, what are they going to do? How are they ever going to have that ability to give the space to invest if they can't meet a lot of people? You've got to get good at meeting a lot of people. Without that ability to meet a lot of people, you're never going to be able to do all these other incredible things that I've been talking about. So that is step one. Have your outreach down. If you don't know that, look at my other videos or just go figure it out yourself. That's what I did, and you can too. Stop being a baby. Get this down, okay? So step one is going out, making little fun jokes, little comments, little observations, that ability to meet a lot of people. Now, once you have that down, I've discussed this in other videos, the next thing that you want to do is have a little bit of fun or offer value. So step one is initiating. Step two is offering value. What is offering value? Well, that depends on the environment. If you're in a social environment, generally what you do is you have a lot of fun. You self-amuse, you're playful, you're enjoyable. Everybody loves good emotions from a high status person. So if you have great body language, great eye contact, a great voice, you're fun, you're playful, you know how to make little fun comments, then going from there, it is obvious that you've got a lot of value to offer. So now you're talking, and the person you're talking to really wants more of what it is that you have to offer. At that point, you're at a fork in the road. One way is to just keep pumping with more value. The other way is to provide an opportunity to invest. What does that mean? That could be anything from right on that high point, switching your conversation to somebody else. Or it could be saying, you know what? This isn't gonna work out. Or it could be saying, you know what? Tell me about yourself. What do you have going? Now, what that's gonna do is that's going to put into focus all that value that it is that you've had to offer. Because basically what's gonna happen is that they're getting that value, they're getting those good emotions, but the halo effect hasn't kicked in. They haven't had that clink of the RAS yet. So as soon as you give that opportunity to invest and they begin investing, their reticular activation system goes clink. And that there is the difference between you getting somebody who just thought you're kind of fun to talk to versus somebody who winds up running off into the night for some epic adventure together, or desperately pursuing you over social media, or calling you or texting you, or doing whatever it takes to get to know you further. And the reason why this happens is because, again, you've had the outreach, you've conveyed value, and then from there, you have now provided that opportunity to invest. And then all of a sudden what happens is that reticular activation system goes clink, the halo effect kicks in, and from there, when you suggest to say, run off into the night, or get together later, or have further contact, they're going to be desperate to be a part of that. Now, this only works based on certain factors, and those factors, we're gonna go a little bit deeper here in the West Village on those factors. And once you have this, again, outreach, putting it out there, hooking, raising value, and then bink, giving some ability or creating space to invest in you, well, once you have that, you can move in a certain direction. But what qualities is it that you need to have to truly make this work for you? Now, I emphasized earlier the importance of outreach, and the reason why is because outreach, that ability to meet a ton of people at any given time, is a part of what I'd call your foundation. And to really get a situation where someone wants to invest in you, in my experience, you have to be coming from a point where you have no neediness at all. And that means that you have to solve your internal neediness. You've got to make it where you're no longer needy for attention from people, because otherwise they're going to sense that there's an energy of taking coming from you, and also it's going to be almost impossible to fix all of these kind of needy tendencies. Like in the story that I gave earlier, I'm a professional and know how to not look needy, but because there was nothing that I could do to stop it. And the really crazy thing with that too was that as I invested more and more, I became needier and needier. This is why in many ways traditional dating is actually destined to fail in most cases, because say that you're buying somebody some fancy dinner, you're investing too much on the front end, and if that means a lot to you as far as your money and your time, oftentimes you're going to become needier and needier. And as you become needy, ironically, the person who you're trying to connect with will find you to be creepy and weird. It's usually about once or twice, maybe a year, that I'll have somebody thinking I'm a little bit weird or needy. And the reason why that happens is always because I like them a bit too much, and it winds up weirding them out. So realize that desire to offer value actually creeps people out because you're overwhelming them. You're making it to where they are not even able to receive what it is that you have to offer. Now, let's go back to your foundation. So part of your foundation is inner changes, and part of your foundation is outer shifts in your behavior and your lifestyle. As far as your behavior and lifestyle, again, the first one that we mentioned is having a lot of outreach, that ability to just meet tons of people. Look, if you walk into a venue and you start meeting a bunch of people, part of your brain says, you know what? You've got so many friends here. This is not a big deal. You could be talking to this person, you could be talking to this person. That's why you'll notice that anytime you go to a venue and you just start meeting a lot of people, it actually builds your foundation. It makes you less needy. And you'll see it to where at the beginning of the night, people are initially not that attracted to you or drawn to you, but by later in the night, what winds up happening is everybody's drawn to you. What you'll find is that when you walk in that new venue, at first you're nervous, like I said, you start meeting a ton of people, and your sense of calmness goes up because at any point you could walk away. That ability to walk away is everything. Everything as far as getting people to have an interest in investing when you offer that opportunity. If for any reason you can't walk away from someone who you're talking to, it is almost impossible to attract them. You can never have somebody who you can't walk away from. Let me say that again. You will never have somebody in your life that you couldn't walk away from. You have to have the intention and then simply release it. My problem in the story that I gave earlier was that I kept investing. I kept doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down because the connection was so good. And it was so shocking for me to start seeing other people, realizing that I hadn't doubled down with them, realizing that I was just good in my own body, and really just seeing them chasing me. So what you've got to do ultimately, here's the main key to it, is you've got to get clear on how much you're willing to offer before there's a boundary. If this is you, this is how expansive you're willing to be, and at that point, boom, the boundary kicks in. If the person isn't feeling it by that point, you must move on and continue to build your foundation. If you lose your foundation and you are going outside of what should be your personal ecosystem, that will violate you, that will cause you to chip away at your foundation, cause you to become weak, cause you to step outside of your power, and cause you to lose yourself. Most people in the world have lost themselves, and for that reason, they're easily manipulated and they're not very attractive. You must be clear in who you are, what you value, what kind of energy you want around yourself, and most of all, how you expect to be treated, how much you expect people to invest in you. Even if you have that perfect person who you love so much, that perfect business partner, that perfect person you want to work with or be friends with, if you're having to go too far beyond yourself, beyond your limit, which you have clearly established, if you're having to go too far, you will begin to tilt that seesaw, that buyer-seller dynamic will tilt against you. You'll start to become reactive, double down, you'll become frantic, and you'll look like some kind of gambling junkie who is the opposite of being attractive. That being the case, I hope that what we made clear in this video is the importance of investing. And essentially we have our step-by-step of outreach, adding value, given the opportunity to invest so that the RAS goes clink and switches into the halo effect, and then leading to the promised land. Knowing how to do this means that you're going to be able to be the captain of the ship. It means that if you're running a business and you ask your team to go do something that will help them to do better for you, and if you do better, you can pay them more, they're going to be inclined to do that. It means that if you have a partner and you can lead your partner in a better direction in life, to create an incredible life together, you can be a better giver of value when you understand this concept of investment. So, know who you are, know what you value, know how to offer value, and know where that limit is, and provide the space for that other person to invest. Otherwise, you're coming on too strong, you're depriving them of that ability to give so that they can receive, and ultimately, all of us in life need to actually go through a little bit of struggle or invest into something to appreciate it. It's a part of our psychology, it's a part of our human experience on Earth, and to offer the most value, you want to offer truly human experiences to the outside world. Anyway, getting pretty hot out here. I'm gonna go to bed after a very long night. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I very much enjoyed sharing these painful lessons with you, and I'm off to bed. I'll be back soon with more. Peace.